Namaste and welcome to the UPSC News Analysis for 6th May 2025.
Hello, everyone.
In this deep dive, we're unpacking some really key current affairs from the last few days.
That's right. A lot has been happening, beginning of May 2025.
Indeed. And on the surface, these news items might seem, unrelated, but we want to connect the dots for you.
See the bigger trends, the underlying challenges India is facing. That's the goal.
Exactly. We'll break down the core concepts, explain the basics when needed, and really focus on the main's relevance, all tailored for you, the UPSC aspirant.
Moving beyond just the headlines.
So what's on the table today? Quite a mix. We'll start with these civil defense drills and their geopolitical backdrop.
Then the persistent issue of film piracy.
Yes, and India's strategic moves concerning the Indus Waters Treaty. Very significant.
And the diplomatic tensions with Canada over those pro-Khalistan activities, that continues.
It does. We'll also look at India's unique approach to conservation via the Forest Rights Act. That's quite interesting globally.
And the energy demands of AI.
Yeah.
That's a huge emerging topic.
Absolutely huge. Plus, the hydrogen versus battery debate for clean transport.
Local protests against land acquisition. Leadership changes at the IMF.
And finally, the strategic importance of the new Visakhapatnam port. So quite a range.
But you can see themes emerging, right? Security, economy, environment, diplomacy.
Precisely. Our aim is to break these down, make them clear, show you why they matter for mains, and give you a solid, insightful understanding.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's kick off with these civil defense drills happening amidst the Indo-Pak tensions. Now, civil defense, it might sound a bit old-fashioned.
Yeah, maybe something from the Cold War era films.
Right. But it's essentially about training civilians, preparing them for protection during wartime or even major disasters. Think bombings, chemical attacks.
So things like blackouts, camouflaging important sites, knowing air raid siren procedures.
Exactly. Switching off lights at night, making vital installations harder to spot, knowing what the sirens mean. It's all part of India's passive defense strategy, especially near borders.
Passive defense building resilience without direct military action. Minimizing civilian impact.
Correct. So, the news. May 5th, the Union Home Ministry directed drills in 244 vulnerable districts from May 7th to 9th.
244 districts. That's quite widespread.
It is. Activities include those sirens, blackouts, evacuation drills, clearing out old bunkers, practicing camouflage.
And the timing. This comes right after that tragic Pahalgam attack on April 22nd. 26 killed.
Yes. And with tensions reportedly rising with Pakistan, the timing feels, well, deliberate.
It strongly suggests a link, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Heightened security concerns leading to these readiness exercises. A tangible response.
Seems so. And it's a big exercise. Around 4 lakh civil defense volunteers are expected to participate.
4 lakh.
Plus others. Yes, plus NCC cadets, Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan members, even school and college students. Firozapur in Punjab apparently did a blackout drill on May 4th already.
Coordinated effort, too, you mentioned.
Yeah.
IAF, local police.
That's right. Shows an integrated approach. The seriousness is clear.
So who's officially in charge of this?
Well, the main body is the Directorate General of Civil Defense, the DGCD. Formed back in 1962, actually, after the Sino-Indian War.
Ah, okay. Under the Home Ministry.
Yes. They handle the training and organizing. And there's some overlap, naturally, with the NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority, especially in peacetime disaster prep.
Makes sense. Many skills are transferable: evacuations, shelters.
Yeah.
It builds overall societal resilience.
Exactly. And constitutionally, where does this fit?
That would be Entry 1, Union List, 7th Schedule. Defense matters, including civil defense, fall under the center.
Right. And historically, these drills were more common during actual conflicts, 65, 71 wars, post-Cargill.
So it's a capability that's activated based on perceived threats, not entirely new.
Okay, let's talk main's relevance. What are the issues and challenges here?
Well, one big one is public panic. Miscommunication about these drills could cause real fear.
Good point. Then coordination center, state, IAF, civilians, getting everyone on the same page. That's complex.
Infrastructure gaps, too. Are the bunkers up to scratch? Many might be old, outdated.
And the training itself. Is it sufficient for modern threats? Are the 4 lakh volunteers adequately prepared?
These challenges point towards needing very clear communication, defined coordination, investment in infrastructure, and continuous training.
And the impacts. We're looking at polity center-state coordination in action.
Or inaction, potentially. Society raising awareness, participation, building resilience.
And ethics and governance, the state's duty to protect, accountability for safety.
Definitely. And for mains answers, you could explore that ethical balance, causing potential anxiety versus the duty to prepare citizens. It's tricky.
So the way forward, what needs to happen?
Regular audits, I'd say. Check the preparedness bunkers, sirens, routes in those vulnerable districts routinely.
Public awareness campaigns, too, using schools, media, panchayats to educate people properly.
Better integration with NDMA's work seems logical. Leverage those synergies.
Technology upgrades, drones, GIS mapping for evacuations, better warning systems.
Absolutely. And maybe even looking at the legislation itself. The Civil Defense Act is from 1968. Does it cover modern threats, cyber aspects?
Good point. A legislative overhaul might be needed.
So a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, education, tech, legislation.
Right. Quick prelims pointers for you. DGCD formed in 1962 under MHA. Blackout drill is a wartime tactic. Around 4 lakh volunteers. Constitutional basis. Entry 1, Union list. Pahalgam attack. April 22, 2025, 26 killed the likely trigger.
Got it.
Okay, shifting gears completely. Let's talk about film piracy, specifically that incident with Malayalam film Thudorum.
Ah, yes, the one played on a tourist bus. It's quite brazen.
Very. So piracy, just to be clear, is the unauthorized copying and distribution of copyrighted films. Illegal downloads, screenings, sharing copies.
And in the digital age, a lot of it is cybercrime. Sharing online without permission. It hits the industry hard. Revenue loss, fewer cinema visits, less investment.
Hugely damaging. India's main law here is the Copyright Act, 1957. It prohibits unauthorized reproduction, public showing, etc.
So what happened with Thudorum?
Apparently, a pirated copy of this Mohanlal film was being screened on a tourist bus coming from Wagamon in Kerala.
While it's still in cinemas.
Exactly. Someone saw it, recorded it, and sent the video to actor Binu Papu. The producer, M. Ranjith, is now planning to file a cyber police complaint.
Understandably. It highlights how easily pirated content circulates, even openly on public transport.
It does. So what's the government doing about piracy?
Well, there's the Copyright Act, updated in 2012. Penalties can be up to 3 years jail and a 2 lakh fine.
There's also the IT Act, 2000, covering digital piracy.
And that pending Cinematograph Amendment Bill 2023, that aims for stricter penalties, especially for camcording in theaters and uploading.
Yes. Plus, states like Kerala have anti-piracy cells, and there are public campaigns like Say No to Piracy.
But the challenge remains huge, doesn't it? Digital copying is so easy, enforcement is tough.
Absolutely. Main's relevance here. Issues and challenges. Ease of digital duplication is number 1. Weak enforcement, low conviction rates.
The economic loss is massive, runs into crores annually for the Indian film industry.
And cyber jurisdiction issues, tracking down culprits when content is hosted abroad.
Plus the moral and ethical side, violating artists' rights, intellectual property.
Right, and societally, it risks normalizing lawbreaking, especially online.
So the way forward, what can be done?
Stricter surveillance on public transport seems necessary. Maybe checks, penalties for playing illegal content?
More awareness drives, targeting tourists, drivers, focusing on the legal risks and ethics.
Faster legal recourse, maybe special courts for IP violations.
Technology could help too. Blockchain, digital watermarking to trace piracy origins.
And partnerships with tech giants, using AI to track and remove pirated content online.
It needs that multi-pronged strategy again. Enforcement, education, tech, legal reforms.
Okay, prelims facts for you. Copyright Act, 1957 governs piracy. Punishment, up to 3 years jail, 2 lakh fine. Cinematograph Bill 2023 targets filming sharing. Incident location, Wagamon, Kerala. Right, let's move to the Indus Waters Treaty. India's recent actions flushing dams on the Chenab. Big geopolitical implications here.
Absolutely. First, the basics of the treaty, 1960. Water sharing between India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank.
India gets the eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas, Sutlej. Pakistan gets the western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab.
But India can use Western river water for non-consumptive uses like hydropower, limited use.
Yes, and the treaty has been remarkably durable, surviving wars and tensions.
It's a cornerstone of regional water management.
So, the news. India conducted early flushing of the Baglahar, 900 milliW, and Salal, 690 milliW dams in J&K, over the May 3 to 5 weekend.
Flushing means releasing water to clear out silt, right? Usually done later during monsoon.
Exactly. This was much earlier than the typical August timeframe. It caused a temporary surge downstream into Pakistan, then a reduction.
And crucially, Pakistan wasn't given advance notice. That seems like a deviation from protocol.
It appears so. Baglihar supplies power to Haryana too, and both dams are vital for J&K and North India's grid.
The lack of notice is key. The treaty allows these operations, but standard procedure involves prior information, given the sensitivity.
Definitely. Now, government stance. India recently said it's keeping the treaty in abeyance post-Pahalgam.
And the Jal Shakti minister, C.R. Patil, made that strong statement. Not a drop of Indus water will flow to Pakistan.
Yes. These actions and statements signal a potential shift in India's long-standing approach to the treaty.
Especially linking it to cross-border terrorism. Raises questions about future water diplomacy.
What are the issues and challenges? Potential breakdown in water diplomacy, damaging trust.
Ecological impacts downstream from the sudden flow changes.
Temporary power disruption domestically. And strategically, it could be seen as using water as geopolitical leverage.
The ecological and regional stability concerns are significant. Water is too vital for unilateral actions.
Impacts. Further strain on India-Pakistan relations, possible international scrutiny. Security-wise, it's a retaliatory signal post-Pahalgam.
Energy sector might see a minor temporary dip in output from those dams.
So the way forward. India could seek a formal treaty review, maybe renegotiation, given the circumstances.
Transparency and warning protocols seem vital, even in tense times, to avoid miscalculation.
Strategic reservoir management, balancing releases, power needs, security interests.
Global advocacy, highlighting terrorism concerns to justify a more assertive stance internationally.
And aiming for eco-sensitive water diplomacy, considering ecological needs, downstream populations, security.
Balancing security and cooperative water management principles will be a huge diplomatic challenge.
Okay, prelims pointers. Indus Waters Treaty 1960, World Bank brokered. Chenab is a western river, non-consumptive use for India. Baglihar Dam, 900 milliW, J&K 2008. Salal Dam, 690 milliW, Riasi. Flushing reservoir cleaning. India stance, in abeyance, post-Pahalgam.
Clear.
Moving on to diplomacy again, India-Canada tensions and the protest over that pro-Khalistan rally in Toronto.
Right. The Khalistan movement seeking a separate Sikh homeland, largely dormant in India, but supported by some diaspora in Canada, UK, Australia.
And relations with Canada have been strained since 2023, especially after Trudeau's accusations about Niger's death.
A diplomatic protest is that formal objection one government makes to another.
Yes. India views the movement as a threat to its unity and integrity. That's the core friction.
So, the news. On May 6th, India strongly protested to the Canadian High Commission about a rally in Toronto.
Objected to offensive depictions of PM Modi and ministers, anti-India slogans, even calls to kill India.
Very disturbing rhetoric.
Yeah.
And the timing is notable just after Mark Carney's election as Canada's new PM.
Right. Modi had congratulated him, hoped for better ties. This rally, though, problematic.
It reportedly also called for expelling Indian-origin Canadians. Raised hate speech concerns.
Yes. India demanded action against extremist elements promoting separatism and hate.
The timing, so soon after the leadership change, feels like a deliberate provocation, undermining potential rapprochement.
Seems likely. Now, government actions. MEA consistently objects to these activities in Canada via diplomatic notes.
Tensions spiked in 2023 over Niger. India keeps urging Canada via bilateral channels to respect its integrity, prevent anti-India propaganda.
And domestically, Khalistan activities are banned. Groups like Sikhs for Justice, SFJ, are unlawful under UAPA.
Banning SFJ shows India's domestic legal stance. But the challenge is these groups operate abroad under different laws.
So, Maine's relevance. Issues. Diaspora extremism is a major foreign policy challenge. How to manage it.
Bilateral strain with a G7 nation like Canada, that's significant.
And that clash. Canada's view on free speech versus India's view on incitement to violence and terrorism.
It highlights the complexities of navigating different legal and cultural norms internationally.
Impacts. Weaker diplomatic engagement hurts people-to-people ties. Security risk of radicalization, potential spillover violence.
And ethically, where are the limits of free speech when it promotes hate or violence?
Way forward. Continue firm bilateral dialogue. Insist on a red line regarding extremism.
Engage the diaspora more proactively. Encourage integration with national values.
Use international forums UN, G20, Commonwealth to raise concerns about inaction on separatism.
And enhance legal monitoring, intelligence sharing to counter propaganda.
A sustained, multifaceted diplomatic effort seems necessary.
Prelims facts. Khalistan movement, separate Sikh state, banned in India. Mark Carney, new Canadian PM, May 2025. Diplomatic protest, May 5 to 6, 2025. SFJ banned under UAPA 1967. Toronto rally, hate slogans, threats.
And remember the timeline of tensions from June 2023 to May 2025. It shows this isn't a sudden issue.
It's been brewing.
Okay, let's shift to something more positive, potentially. India's Forest Rights Act as a global example of inclusive conservation.
The FRA, 2006, officially the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act.
Its goal was to correct historical injustices, right? Granting Adivasas and forest dwellers legal rights over forest land and resources.
Which is quite different from the fortress conservation model, the top-down approach that often excludes or displaces local communities, the IPLCs.
IPLCs, indigenous peoples and local communities. Crucial players in conservation, increasingly recognized internationally.
Connects to the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, which stresses involving IPLCs.
And the 30 by 30 goal under the Kunming-Montreal framework, protecting 30% of land and sea by 2030.
So the news is that India's FRA is gaining global recognition for this inclusive, rights-based approach.
Instead of displacement, it empowers communities. Community forest rights, Gram Sabha management.
Contrast that with global displacement figures for conservation, maybe 10-20 million people. Even in India, around 6 lakh were displaced under the Wildlife Protection Act.
Right. India's own National Biodiversity Strategy, NBSAP 2025, leans towards state-led institutions, though.
But the Ministry of Tribal Affairs recently recommended integrating conservation more with FRA's Gram Sabha governance.
That's interesting.
Very. Suggests using existing community structures rather than potentially conflicting new ones like OECMs without recognizing rights first.
A significant recommendation, aligning conservation with community empowerment. So, relevant government initiatives. Constitutional backing via Articles 244, 244A, PISA Act 1996, tribal self-governance.
Then the FRA 2006 itself, granting rights like community forest resource rights, biodiversity rights, traditional knowledge rights.
The Biological Diversity Act 2002, setting up the NBA, state boards, local biodiversity management committees, BMCs.
And while older acts like Project Tiger, Wildlife Protection Act 1972 initially excluded rights, FRA was meant as a corrective.
And internationally, the Kunming-Montreal framework now emphasizes IPLC participation.
This shift reflects a growing global understanding. Local communities are vital for protecting biodiversity.
Okay, main issues and challenges. The ongoing tension, displacement versus rights under FRA.
Conflicts between laws, FRA, BDA, Forest Department approaches can clash, weakening community roles.
Slow FRA implementation is a big one. Many BMCs aren't really functional.
And the risk with the 30 by 30 target, could it lead to more exclusionary protected areas if not implemented carefully without community consent?
These highlight the need for better coordination, stronger commitment to FRA's spirit, and real community participation.
Impacts. Social justice, addressing historical wrongs, empowering millions. Ecology, recognizing IPLCs as effective stewards with traditional knowledge.
Governance, promoting democratic decentralization via Gram Sabhas, and global leadership FRA as a progressive legislative example.
So the way forward. Strengthen FRA implementation, recognize rights, settle claims faster.
Legal harmonization, align conservation laws better with FRA mandates.
Capacity building for Gram Sabhas and BMCs, training for local biodiversity governance.
Ensuring free, prior, and informed consent, FPIC, before declaring new conservation zones. Absolutely critical.
And carefully monitoring 30 by 30 implementation, ensuring it includes community-led conservation, OECMs, not just top-down protected areas.
By fully embracing FRA, India can hit conservation goals and strengthen social justice.
Prelims facts. FRA enacted 2006. Recognizes 13 rights types. 30 by 30 target from Kunming-Montreal GBF 2022. CBD Article 8J includes IPLC knowledge. India has a 1,134 protected areas, displacement estimate, 6 lakh.
Got it. Now, to a very modern challenge, the energy footprint of artificial intelligence.
The AI's energy use, it's becoming a massive issue.
First, some terms. Generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney creating content, energy footprint, the total electricity and environmental cost of AI systems, mostly in data centers.
Data centers, huge facilities, housing servers, GPUs, needing massive power for running and cooling.
GPUs, graphic processing units, vital for AI training due to parallel processing power. And SMRs, small modular reactors, compact nuclear reactors, proposed as a low-carbon power source for these energy hogs.
Understanding these is key to grasping the scale of the energy challenge AI poses.
Exactly. The news is stark. Data center energy use is soaring. Could hit 10% of global electricity by 2030.
10%? That's huge. India seems okay for now, but future AI expansion needs sustainable planning.
And the carbon cost. Training one large AI model might equal the lifetime emissions of 5 cars, and that's just training.
OpenAI CEO Sam Altman even said, "Our GPUs are melting," highlights the sheer power and thus energy involved.
Right. The article suggests mandatory energy transparency for AI and using SMRs as a sustainable solution.
Altman's quote really drives home the computational intensity. The car comparison makes the impact relatable.
What's the government doing? Currently, India lacks specific rules for reporting AI energy use.
AERB and BRR handle nuclear regulation, but SMR development is still early-stage planning or pilot phases.
The draft national strategy for AI from NITI Aayog doesn't seem to fully integrate detailed energy sustainability metrics yet.
And globally, there's a push for clean AI, but specific guidelines and enforcement vary.
The lack of clear regulations in early-stage SMRs points to a need for proactive policy here. It's moving fast.
Main issues. Environmental unsustainability is taught. If AI's energy needs are met by fossil fuels, it undermines climate goals.
Lack of regulatory framework for energy disclosure, the cost and public perception of SMR's initial costs, nuclear concerns.
And energy equity will AI strain grids, divert clean energy from other essential uses.
These show how intertwined tech, energy, and climate policies are. Needs a holistic view.
Impacts. Energy sector faces accelerated demand, needs grid upgrades, SMRs become more relevant, environment risks climate commitments if not managed.
Tech and innovation spurs green AI research, energy tech. Policy and ethics balancing innovation with environmental justice.
So way forward. Mandate AI energy disclosures. Transparency is key.
Promote green AI research, energy-efficient algorithms, deployment models.
Invest strategically in SMR development and deployment to meet the surge sustainably.
Integrated energy planning, renewables, SMRs, grid upgrades working together.
And raise public awareness about SMR safety, benefits, costs to address skepticism.
A proactive, comprehensive strategy is essential for a sustainable AI revolution.
Prelims facts. Data center energy use potentially 10% by 2030. Training co-Euros 5 cars lifetime emissions. SMR costs projected to fall in India. Key AI players: OpenAI, Midjourney, Google, NITI Aayog. SMRs feature passive safety.
Okay, next up. Hydrogen versus battery power. The cost debate in clean public transport.
A very relevant debate for urban mobility and air quality.
Terms first. BEVs, battery electric vehicles, powered solely by stored electricity, most common EV type.
FCEVs, fuel cell electric vehicles, use hydrogen converted to electricity, faster refueling, longer range, potentially good for heavy-duty long distance.
Green hydrogen produced using renewables, truly clean but currently expensive. Blue hydrogen from natural gas with carbon capture, not fully clean.
And PM2.5 pollution, tiny harmful air particles. Vehicle emissions are a major urban source. Deep lung penetration.
This comparison is vital as cities look for cleaner transport options.
So the news. A Hindu analysis suggests hydrogen bus trucks cost 20–30% more upfront than BEVs in 2024.
And look at the operational cost per kilometer. Diesel, E22.5, electric AQ14, blue hydrogen, A69.5, green hydrogen, H75.5.
Wow, that's a huge difference in running costs. Hydrogen is far more expensive currently.
Interestingly, India leads the world in electric three-wheelers, 0.58 million sold in 2023, more than China.
And overall, EV registrations grew 70% year on year, mainly 23-wheelers.
Yes. But FCEVs remain rare globally, only around 93,000 units worldwide in 2024.
The figures clearly show hydrogen's current cost disadvantage, especially operational costs.
Government initiatives. FEMI India scheme subsidizes BEV purchases.
National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, NEMMP, since 2013.
National Green Hydrogen Mission launched 2023 big investment. 19,744 CR to boost hydrogen production, especially green.
Scrappage policy, battery swapping policy also encouraging EVs.
And state EV policies, Maharashtra, Delhi, TN, Karnataka offering subsidies, charging infra support, R&D.
A strong push towards electric mobility with a newer focus on developing the green hydrogen ecosystem for the future.
Mains issues challenges. High operating cost of hydrogen vehicles is a major hurdle compared to electric.
Infrastructure gaps, few hydrogen refueling stations versus a growing, though still inadequate, charging network.
Technology maturity. BEV tech is more advanced, widely adopted in public transport currently. FCEV tech is earlier stage for mass transit.
And the urgent need to tackle urban air pollution, especially PM2.5, makes cleaner options like EVs crucial for health.
Addressing these needs, strategic investment in infrastructure, R&D, and hydrogen production storage, and clear policy supporting both techs long-term.
Impacts. Positive health outcomes from reduced PM2.5. Economic benefits, lower fuel imports, green jobs, Climate helps meet net zero targets.
Innovation driver for batteries, hydrogen tech, mobility solutions.
So way forward, focus on BEVs for urban public transport seems logical now, given costs and infra.
But continue investing in hydrogen R&D, especially for long-distance freight where range or fueling speed matter more.
Public-private partnerships for building both charging and refueling infrastructure.
Improve supply chains for EV components and green hydrogen equipment to cut costs.
And integrate cleaner mobility into urban planning, low-emission zones, e-mobility corridors, integrated transport.
A balanced approach using both BEV and hydrogen strategically, backed by infra and policy, seems key.
Prelims facts. Hydrogen buses 20-30% costlier upfront. Operational costs. H2 Euro 75 kilometer, EV Euro 14 kilometers, India EV market 2023. 0.58 meters three-wheelers, world leader 0.88 meters square-wheelers second, EVs 5% total sales 2023. PM 2.5 caused 30K deaths year in 10 cities, 2008-19 estimate. Key policies. FAME, NMMP, green hydrogen mission.
Okay, let's shift from national global to local. Villagers protesting grazing land acquisition in Assam for a logistics park.
A classic development versus livelihood environment conflict.
Key terms: grazing land, common land for livestock, vital for rural economies. Wetlands, ecologically sensitive areas, rich biodiversity, flood control.
Logistics park hub for transport, warehousing, distribution, seen as key infra. ADC, Assam Industrial Development Corporation, state agency promoting industry, acquiring land.
These set the stage for the villagers' concerns: loss of livelihood, environmental damage.
So, the news. Kamrup District Admin notified acquisition of 150 bighas, around 50 acres, of Doorabil grazing land near Guwahati on April 7th.
For a logistics park by a Kolkata-based firm. This sparked protests from 21 villages.
How many people affected?
Over 3,000 families dependent on livestock rearing, plus 500 pottery-making families rely on this land.
And it joins a sensitive wetland. That adds environmental concerns.
Exactly. Villagers are threatening mass protest if concerns aren't addressed.
The sheer numbers affected thousands of families. A wetland highlights the seriousness. Big potential disruption.
Relevant policies. Forest Rights Act 2006 might apply if they're traditional dwellers. Wetlands Rules 2017 protect wetlands.
The LAR Act 2013 requires social impact assessments, consent from affected families.
Assam has its state wetland authority, and logistics park plans generally need to comply with environmental social safeguards.
The interplay of these laws shows the complexity. Balancing development with rights and environment is tough.
Main's issues. Livelihood displacement is immediate, affects thousands tied to livestock, pottery.
Environmental degradation, potential harm to the adjacent wetlands, biodiversity, flood control.
Consent and participation questions if development is just and participatory. Lack of consent seems alleged here.
And the broader land use conflict infrastructure development versus local livelihoods and ecology. Increasingly common.
This really illustrates the ethical dilemmas in development. Whose interests are prioritized? How are impacts minimized?
Impacts. Worsens rural-urban divide, risks marginalizing traditional communities. Macro growth versus local economies can increase inequality.
Wetland encroachment threatens ecological sustainability, resilience to disasters. Governance issues land rights, consultation adequacy, regulation enforcement.
So, way forward. A proper social impact assessment under LAR 2013 is vital. Understand risks, plan rehabilitation.
Respect Gram Sabha consent if PESIFRA apply. That's crucial for scheduled areas.
Detailed ecological assessment involving the Assam State Wetland Authority, given the adjacent wetland.
Explore alternative sites. One's less ecologically sensitive, less critical for livelihoods.
And meaningful dialogue with affected communities. Fair compensation, resettlement if displacement is unavoidable.
Emphasizes development that involves people, has strong environmental safeguards, minimizes social harm through fair processes.
Prelims facts. Doorabil grazing field, 49.59 acres, Assam. Stakeholders, 3,000 livestock families, 500 pottery families, 21 villages. Key laws, FRA 2006, LRR 2013, Wetlands Rules 2017, Agency. ADC, wetland buffer zones exist under MO-FNCC state guidelines.
Okay, next. A significant change at the IMF. Parameswaran Iyer to represent India on the executive board.
Important for India's voice in global finance.
Basics. IMF Executive Board 24 members, handles daily operations, loans, policies. India shares a constituency with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, usually represented by an Indian Executive Director, ED.
Parameswaran Iyer, former Niti Aayog CEO, currently ED at World Bank, known for Swachh Bharat mission leadership.
And the IMF has that climate resilience loan program for vulnerable countries.
India's seat on the board is strategically vital, influences policies, lending decisions.
So the news. Iyer appointed temporarily as India's rep, following early end of KV Subramanian's term.
Timing is crucial, just before a key IMF meeting on May 9th.
Exactly. Agenda includes a $1.3 billion climate loan review and the first review of Pakistan's $7 part bailout.
Given recent tensions post-Pahalgam, India's stance on aid to Pakistan will be watched closely, likely scrutiny or opposition.
Seems probable. If India hadn't appointed someone, Sri Lanka's alternate ED would have represented the group.
And why the early exit for Subramanian? Reports mention disputes over IMF data, statements on India's debt, concerns about his book promotion.
The timing of the change before this critical meeting underscores the need for a strong, consistent Indian voice. The reasons for departure highlight the sensitivity of these roles.
Government actions. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet ACC ended Subramanian's term.
India uses these strategic postings at IMF, World Bank, ADD to advance economic geopolitical interests.
And India's IMF policy stance often advocates for developing economies, cautious on aid to hostile neighbors.
These reflect India's growing global economic influence and strategic use of multilateral platforms.
As issues challenges. Early ED termination suggests potential internal friction could temporarily affect representation stability.
Delicate diplomacy, balancing economic goals with geopolitical concerns, especially regarding Pakistan.
And the reported data concerns raise questions about credibility, transparency of international financial institutions.
These highlight the complexities of international diplomacy and the need for high ethical standards in global governance.
Impacts. Geopolitically, reinforces efforts to isolate Pakistan post-terror incidents. Governance-wise, shows India's assertiveness in IMF.
Institutional ethics raises concerns about conduct in high-ranking international roles. Climate finance ire will likely influence discussions on fair frameworks for developing nations.
Way forward. Ensure representatives align with long-term strategy and adhere to high professional conduct standards.
Clear guidelines on conduct disclosure for international reps seem important.
Continue promoting transparency accountability within global forums like IMF.
And develop climate-resilient diplomacy, protecting India's global South's interests in climate finance.
Strengthening representation with high-integrity, strategic individuals is key for navigating global finance and diplomacy.
Prelims facts. Paramaswaran Iyer, ex-NET IOG CEO, temporary IMF ED rep, IMF board, 24 members, loans policies. $1.3 billion climate loan plus $7 pence Pakistan bailout review planned May 9, 2025. KV Subramanian former ED, early exit April 30, 2025. India's IMF constituency, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka.
Understood.
Finally, let's look at the Vizhinjam port, a potential maritime game-changer for India.
Yes, strategically very important.
Key terms. Transshipment port cargo transferred between ships en route to final destination. Deepwater port, natural depth, Vizhinjam 20-meter, allows handling very large ships without much dredging.
PPP, public-private partnership, good and private company share investment risk. TEU, 20-foot equivalent unit, standard container measure.
VGF, viability gap funding. GOF support for economically sound but financially challenging infra projects.
Developing a major transshipment hub like Vizhinjam reduces reliance on foreign ports, boosts India's global maritime trade position.
So, the news. Vizhinjam International Transshipment Port, Adani Ports, and Kerala Gulf PPP started commercial operations in July 2024.
A big milestone.
Yeah.
India's first semi-automated port. AI-based vessel management, remote cranes, aimed at faster turnaround.
Exactly. India loses an estimated $220 million annually in transshipment fees to foreign ports. Singapore, Colombo, etc.
Since July 2024, 265 ships have docked already, including large mother vessels.
Yes. Significant investment. Kerala Gulf 5,595 CR. Adani Ports 2,454 CR. Center VGF loan rate 818 CR.
And future plan for another 9,500 CR investment by 2028 for expansion.
The scale of investment in automation highlights the ambition. Make Vizhinjam a world-class competitive hub. Potential Forex savings are huge.
What government initiatives support this?
Sagarmala Project for Port Modernization. Maritime India Vision 2030 to improve capacity, global share.
PM Gati Shakti plan for multimodal connectivity, linking ports smoothly to railroad. Crucial for the hinterland connection.
And coastal economic zones development, with Vizhinjam as an anchor.
These show a comprehensive approach to maritime infra development and using the coastline for economic growth.
Mains issues challenges Vizhinjam still faces. Connectivity bottlenecks, railroad links to hinterlands, TN, KA, Telangana, need more development.
Environmental social conflicts, protests from Fisher Folk Latin Church over displacement, ecological impacts were significant.
Funding debates scrutiny over public support, VGF, for a private-led project.
And competition faces strong rivalry from established hubs like Colombo with existing infrastructure and shipping partnerships.
Addressing these through planning, stakeholder engagement, strategic investment is crucial for Visinjam to succeed against dominant regional hubs.
Impacts: economic reduced costs, forex savings, trade efficiency, strategic stronger maritime presence on key global routes.
Technological introduces semi-automation, AI to Indian ports, boosting productivity, employment port operations, logistics, related industries.
So the way forward for Visinjam: ensure robust multimodal connectivity rail, road, coastal cargo routes. Continue dialogue with local communities, address grievances, fair rehabilitation, livelihood support.
Adopt a green port strategy, renewables, zero-emission equipment, eco-sensitive expansion.
Promote industrial ecosystem around the port logistics parks, warehousing, marine clusters.
And strengthen global partnerships, attract major shipping lines, incentivize Indian cargo owners to use Visinjam. By tackling these areas, Visinjam could truly transform India's maritime landscape and global trade links.
Prelims facts. Location: Visinjam, Kerala, southernmost major port. Natural draft: 20 meters. Commissioned July 2024. Funding breakdown provided. Cargo loss to foreign ports: $200, 220 hour. India's TEU capacity: 20 meter versus China's 330 meters.
That scale difference really shows the ambition here, doesn't it?
It certainly does. A major step if it fulfills its potential.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into some key current affairs.
And really is striking how interconnected everything is.
Exactly. You see security concerns influencing water treaties and defense drills.
The balance between development, environment, and social justice in land acquisition.
Technology transforming energy and transport, bringing new challenges.
And India's constantly evolving diplomatic engagements. It's all linked.
Understanding these connections, the underlying principles, the government responses, that's absolutely crucial for you as UPSC aspirants.
Couldn't agree more. It's vital for prelims, but especially for crafting those well-argued mains answers.
Many of these topics could easily become essay questions or case studies.
It encourages that holistic view of governance the UPSC looks for.
So we hope this discussion has been helpful. We really encourage you to reflect on these issues, form your own perspectives.
Do subscribe for our daily updates if you haven't already.
And please, drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, ask further questions. We appreciate the engagement.
Remember, you can download the audio or transcript for revision later.
Thank you for joining us, Jai Hind.